Tonight, President Trump will deliver his first State of the Union address since returning to office last year. The occasion has taken on added significance, though, as tensions with Iran threaten to boil over into potential U.S. military action. But there's also likely to be plenty of focus on domestic issues, namely America's economy. Polls show Americans largely believe the president has not paid enough attention to lowering prices and tackling inflation, which is something he promised on the campaign trail. NewsNation White House correspondent Libbey Dean is live outside of the White House right now. Libbey, the economy is going to be front and center tonight. How are we expecting the president to make his case ahead of this year's midterms?
Hi, Nichole. Well, the president, he can hit a lot in 90 minutes, but we're expecting him to draw everything back to the state of the economy tonight during these remarks, because the president is well aware, the White House, they're well aware that whoever wins that affordability messaging battle, they're going to have the leg up in the midterms. And the challenge here is, you mentioned those polls that show that message on affordability, the economy, that hasn't fully broken through with voters, at least on Trump's side. So the speech is his biggest opportunity yet to try to change that, as Americans are going to listen in. Here's how the White House press secretary described some of the president's expected remarks.
The president will lay out the case for why he and Republicans are better suited to continue tackling the affordability crisis that was created by the Biden administration and Democrats on Capitol Hill. And over the past year, there has been tremendous progress to move the ball forward toward attaining the level of economic prosperity we had under President Trump's first term.
And Nichole, this is going to be interesting and a little bit unprecedented. There's going to be some empty seats in the chamber tonight. Some Democrats, they're skipping out altogether. We know that it's over a dozen Democrats that are going to skip out. But the ones that aren't skipping out, they're going to bring guests. And what they're going to do with those guests, they're going to highlight the issues they believe are important. We know a lot of survivors of Epstein's crimes and the victims there, they will be attending with those members of Congress. We also already know one of the president's guests. That's the U.S. men's hockey team who just won gold, Nichole. We're learning that there's the potential for a meeting here at the White House between the president and them, working to confirm that.
All right, and Libbey, we are already hearing, though, that this is going to be a long speech, which we know is not necessarily unusual for President Trump. But what else are we expecting?
So this is going to be one thing to watch for. It's obviously could be the top, like the very first topic that could come up. It's the government. It's partially shut down, Nichole, right now. So it's going to be hard for the president not to mention that in these remarks. He'll likely take a swing at Democrats and accuse them of stalling negotiations. We know those negotiations are stalling right now, and there hasn't been a lot of progress on Democrats' demands for changes to the Department of Homeland Security. The other thing I'm watching here at the White House is this closed-door briefing on Iran. I was actually told by a source that the Secretary of State will brief the Gang of Eight, which is a bipartisan group of 8 congressional leaders. And the president, he's likely to mention Iran tonight during these remarks, not specifically maybe the strikes that could come, but potentially those strikes, the previous ones, of course, Midnight Hammer, the strikes on those 3 nuclear sites last year. And we can't forget about one of the president's favorite words, tools, that's tariffs. That's going to come up tonight, likely. He's going to talk about that Supreme Court ruling, and he's going to twist it as a win and tout how he and his administration, they quickly use this different legal authority to impose a new 10% global tariff. So there is a lot of topics that could come out, but also a lot of confusion about where those tariff revenue refunds, we'll see, and what those look like. We'll see if there's any clarity on that in about 9 hours when the president delivers these remarks. But in the meantime, Nichole, we know there is that luncheon here at the White House that's set to start in about 8 minutes.
Yeah,
Nichole?
and we're going to dig into some of that tariff confusion a little bit later as well. All right, Libbey Dean, live for us there in D.C. And then tonight, make sure you don't miss NewsNation's coverage of the president's State of the Union address. It all starts at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.